Hello and welcome to the Overly Animated Podcast, where we take animation seriously. We talk everything animation here, including Star vs. the Force of Evil, which we'll be getting into today. I'm Dylan Hysen, and today I'm joined by April Collins.
Hey!
Alex Bonilla.
Hola.
And Andy Potter.
Hey.
Today, April, Alex, Andy, and I will be having our overly animated second Star vs. Force Evil Battle for Mewni discussion. We previously had our Battle for Mewni recap. Longest overly animated podcast ever. It was out this weekend. Battle for Mewni aired Saturday. Here we are a little bit after that, and we'll be going. 2 hours, not enough. We got to keep going, keep discussing Battle for Mewni. It was so big. So we're going to continue to discuss that special 2-hour Star vs. Force Evil event. We'll briefly get into Star news, and then we will discuss the big topics and get some new opinions here from our panelists today. Check out all of our Star and other animated content at overlyanimated.com. And you can subscribe to us at overlyanimated.com/iTunes, or if you're listening on YouTube, subscribe to us there. So, briefly before we start getting back into Battle for Mewni, we've had some recent news. We were recording this before the Star panel that will be that happened on Friday. But if you want coverage of that, there should be a podcast in the Star feed, briefly going over all the Comic-Con news from all of the shows. So, look for that. But, there was news even before Comic-Con, which came from a Star and Marco live chat on YouTube that they do. I think this is the first live chat that Star was on, which is pretty fun. And, we learned that Star will be back in November. I mean, yeah, but I think in the press release for Battle for Mewni originally they said September, but maybe they said fall, not clear. November, it seems like we'll take it. Like more Star coming, and probably what November means is we'll have like a November Star or whatever. Starvember, yeah.
Starvember.
I definitely anticipate 16 episodes within the course of a month again. So that's gonna be fun. So we're anticipating that, and I think there's like a mini trailer, not much there, except I would say that the trailer, like the promo, confirmed that Eclipsa is free now. Do you think that's an accurate assessment, Alex?
Or at least she's very involved in the upcoming season.
Right, yeah, it's all focused on Eclipsa. She said something like, I'm free now, or something like that. I guess it could have not been right now, but presumably that's happening. And we talked about on the recap podcast that we do believe the crack at the end of Battle for Mewni signifies that Eclipsa is currently breaking free. So I think probably that'll happen immediately. I don't think we're going to drag that out over the course of the season. But Eclipsa, the focus of Starvember, coming to a TV screen near you eventually. So looking forward to that. But let's get back into Battle for Mewni now, of course, related to speculating on what's to come. We'll get into that. But first, let's get these three guys' perspectives on Battle for Mewni we haven't heard yet. April, what were your general thoughts on this 2-hour special?
I loved it. I was very into it from the get-go. It kept me super actively engaged between the runaway Star and her mom, all the way even down into the Ludo stuff. I was entertained by Ludo, but I feel ways about him. But but it was great. The whole Toffee thing being the big bad, all of it taking place in Mewni, even the Marco moments and the Starco moments, of course. Just enough to keep me satisfied and yearning for November. So it A+ in my book.
Yes, good stuff. Yeah. A+ for you, Alex?
Yeah, I'd give it A-. I want to say. just because Marco and the King and King Ludo kind of felt like a bit of a drag when I was rewatching it. It slowed down there. But the bookends were excellent. Seeing Star and Moon interaction, getting the Moon flashback, and just the way it all wrapped up. It was just so much going on, so much for us to ponder on for these next couple of months that I think it delivered on all the hype that we were giving it.
Yeah, definitely delivered. And we'll get more into all these aspects. Andy, what are your thoughts?
I'm going to change up the arbitrary scale and say I gave it a 9 out of 10.
I love that we're grading without me even having to ask, so that's why you guys are great.
But I really like this. I was really surprised by how it was. It really was an event. It wasn't just a bunch of episodes just stuck together. They all felt like they belonged together in the same special, which was surprising to me. And I just really enjoyed it. But I want to say that my grade does come with a little like rider that there has to be explanations for a couple of things, which I sure will get into. Oh, yeah. But as long as that happens in future episodes, I'll still look back on this and say this was a really great movie, special, whatever.
Andy, there are no conditional grades at Overly Animated. You must give definitive grades to arbitrary things.
It needs to be a hard grade.
Hard grades, yeah.
This is a hard grade, but it might change if episodes later change stuff.
To be fair, I think I've said that before about things, so there might be precedent. We'll have to check the archives.
I am sure you said that because you're always... Never mind.
Okay.
We'll double check with the judges, okay?
Yeah, we'll ask the judges.
The only judge, though.
Someone needs to bring their receipts. Yeah, that is true. I am the only judge. So be prepared to rank the episodes later. I will ask for that. I forgot to put that on the outline. Okay, so but before that, let's I need to start with Toffee here. I'm still reeling from all the Toffee development that happened. And you know, we talked about it for 2 hours and I still don't know what happened. So April, what was your reaction to all this Toffee stuff, and were you happy with everything that happened?
Well, okay. I agree with you because I had a lot of questions and I felt like everything was like very, very masked over. Like, I don't know. I felt like I was left with like, it's nice that it's like resolved and everything and that there's still like the potential, I guess, for him to come back. But it's almost like he was too much of a big bad that they were like, we're not going to like fully explain it. Like, they explained, you know, like he killed Moon's mom and then like he was just that sort of like overlying evil, but like they didn't say why he killed Moon's mom, or like I was like, well, why did he do that? Like, what was his motivation? You know, like he was a rogue general, okay, but why? Like, why? You know? And then even like in the end, like it was still like, it was like resolved, but then not resolved at the same time. Like, is he actually dead? Like, I mean, he turned to goop, so that's a thing, but goop can reform back together. Like,
is that a known thing that goop can reform back together?
I mean,
I guess so.
Yeah.
We can have goop toffee.
Yeah,
goop toffee, like, which might actually be way more horrifying, but like, I don't know, I'm like, okay, I'm glad that it's over and we're moving on. But then at the same time, I'm like, I wish there could have been more explanation. So very like glossed over, in my opinion.
Glossaricked over. Anyway.
Yes.
Yeah. Alex, what's your take on all this Toffee stuff? Were you upset at all by the lack of explanation for a lot of what happened?
Honestly, no, because like if everything was explained, then it'd be much easier to write him off. And maybe it's just me in denial, but I think they left it wide open for him to make a comeback here. And plus, I find Michael C. Hall's voice very sexy, so I would be very sad if we didn't get any more of that in our life. But yeah, I think with also opening up this show to flashbacks, it will give us a lot more opportunity to go further into Toffee's motivations, what happened before the incident we see in Moon the Undaunted, and what happened after, because we also have to know like what was the reason behind Toffee going to hiding and why couldn't Moon ever relocate him. So just things like that that weren't addressed in this event, I feel that within season 3 and maybe beyond, we'll be able to touch upon later. So I was pretty happy with how they used him, saving him up for the big finale, and leaving it open so that we'll be able to see more of him in the future.
Okay, so, you know, Alex is happy given that we might expand upon this in the future. Andy, that sounds like a conditional grade to me. Is that what you were referring to?
That's part of it, yeah. My other part was that I still don't understand Toffee's plan. Like, what was it? Whatever, like...
Right? Was it just to get his finger back, or what?
No, but I mean, like, the way it started with him making Star blow up the wand. Did he do that so he could become goop and then after he died come back? Like, did he do that on purpose? And then did he purposely want Ludo to go insane with corn and spiders and eagles so that he'd get inside Ludo's hand? Like, his plan makes no sense to me. Like, he's always this calm and composed character, and he feels like he's a character with a plan, but his plan makes no sense. I just don't understand. It's just so convoluted.
Yeah. Alex, do you have any explanations about as to Toffee's plan? Are there any fan theories that tie everything together?
Well, I think Delaney alluded to it in the previous episode that he's just a very cold personality. So it feels in line with him that he would go through this personal vendetta against Moon to the point of going through all of these extra steps, but just to humiliate Moon, like totally to the point of killing her daughter off and making her feel powerless, especially with the ability to take away magic from the environment. So I think in the end, it is very possible that it could have just been an elaborate plan to just make Moon useless for whatever role she and her family had in the monster war that so many years ago.
Yeah, this is the Delaney Moon humiliation motivation theory.
And I buy into it.
You buy into that? Would you be satisfied if that was the case?
I think so, because at least that's for me, that's in line with how we've seen him. Is just a very cold person who maybe does have long-standing grievances, but is able to keep them close to the chest to the point that whatever plan he's thinking of, he just uses everybody else's pawns to get what he wants, as we've seen from the season 1 finale all the way to how he's been using Ludo this entire season.
What's your take on that, April?
I mean, I think I could also like buy into that theory, but I would need like some kind of confirmation of that. You know, like for me right now, it just seems like, okay, that's a very like long, drawn out plan just to humiliate like one person. Like there has to have been another way. You know what I mean? Like, okay, I'm gonna wait until she has a daughter, and then do you see like it just sort of like right in that thought, it just sort of like falls apart. And so I'm like, if you could confirm that, then sure, I'll buy into it. But like there was no like confirmation that all along his plan was to humiliate Moon. Like I would be okay with that, but again, I just need to know that that's what the plan has been from the get-go. Like, cool, I'm going to wait it out until she has a daughter, you know, like that kind of thing. Like, and where was he between, like, the time that Moon humiliated him up until, like, his reappearance with Ludo? Like, what were you doing with that time? Were you just sitting there waiting? Like
he was basking in the sun. He's a lizard. He was warming up.
He was hibernating. Like,
yeah.
Like...
I definitely admit that there's a lot of holes still to fill with Toffee, but that's why I think that it's important for them to go back to the character. They can't just leave it like this. See, if they did, then yes, I would be disappointed. But I think there are so many different directions you can still go with Toffee, like going into his past, that it would be a shame if they didn't go back to like further dig into his involvement with the kingdom and how that relates to Moon or Eclipsa for that matter.
So here's my take on this. I think Star is a hard show to read what's going to happen in the future. We don't really follow typical plot progressions with the show so far. But
I agree.
Yeah, but as far as I can tell, I'm a solid 80% sure that this is the last we'll ever see of Toffee.
I feel I'm like I think I'm more than that. I think I'm like 93% sure that this is it with Toffee.
If this was a traditional show, I'd be even more certain. But it's, you know, I see no indication from what we've done in this. And granted, it's only the beginnings of season 3, and we are stopping at a kind of an arbitrary point for eliminating Toffee's character within the season. Just given the exit he had and how it's one of the most significant events, I would say probably the most significant event that's happened on the show. Seems a little far-fetched that he would come back. That being said, you know, like so many things happened without an explanation that you could easily build it into the plot. Just kind of trying to read the tea leaves of the episodes. You know, I'd be surprised if Toffee came back, and that's why I tend to be more on the side of I'm pretty disappointed with how Toffee was used in this special. I'm very happy with almost everything else, but the fact that we never got to see any Toffee really do anything interesting since his reappearance in season 2, and that if you try to tie his character together, it doesn't really form a coherent narrative with his plan. I don't really know his motivations. I don't really understand like, why do you even need a finger? Why is he like doing almost anything he's doing? So as Alex has alluded to, if we leave it off here, there's definitely a lot of unsatisfying plot. And I don't know, my read on it is that we're leaving it off here. I don't know. Alex, what do you potentially see that we might continue with Toffee down the line? Is it just that there's so many questions?
Yeah, that part. And like, one thing I noticed is that when he's attacked by Star's magic, he turns into that black goop, and it's the same black goop that we see as like the anti-magic thing. So what I'm wondering is, like, was he like that even before all this happened? Like, is that his core? Is he like an magical being? And is that maybe why his purpose is to get rid of all the magic from the environment? Maybe he's just at his core against all of it, or maybe against how it's being used in the kingdom. It's just that there are different ways we can go with this, and especially considering how prominent that material was in this whole series, it's a detail that it caught my eye at the end.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't. I'm a little off trying to explain any of the types of magics that are happening at this point. It's very hard for me to tell.
But they put so much focus on all of it that I feel like it has to come up again at some point later in the season.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But I'm okay with it being negative magic. What I'm confused about is what is the wand? I thought like the wand was like a tool to like help you channel magic, but like all this black evil magic stuff was inside the wand, and because of that, there was no magic in all of Mewni at all. Was that correct? Is that what happened? Like, it just feels weird. Is the wand like a lot more important than we were told in the first place?
Yeah. I have no answers to that.
I was going to say, I have no answers, but then that also brings up the question, like, well, was what Star had done with her first wand the reason why there was the glitch in magic? Was Star the cause of that glitch? Like, she offset the balance? Like, do you get what I'm saying? It just brings up so much. Like,
but if her blowing it up was the reason that all that happened, I feel like Moon would know, because she knew the wand was broken.
Yeah, but maybe she didn't know. Like, she didn't know the ramifications of what Star had done. Like,
I guess.
And it's interesting because when Star uses the whispering spell, Moon is like, get away from there. So at least she knows what is the actual spell that causes these things. We don't know if she's ever actually used it, but she knows of it.
Yeah, that would be like my thing, is that maybe she knows of it, and she knows that, okay, if you use the whispering spell, then like the wand is going to blow up, but that's it. Like, that's as far as she knows, because she's never seen or she's only heard of up to that point. Like, she doesn't know, like, okay, after the wand blows up, then this happens, kind of thing. So maybe it's one of those, but like, situations. So she's only heard about it, and she only knows up to a certain point, and then everything else came afterwards. So, which would also be like, would also explain why she wasn't very like upset after she found out that Star had blown up her, like, had broken her wand, because she didn't know that, oh, well, that broken wand means that now magic is, messed up and it has to be fixed, and so on and so forth. Maybe, I don't know. That's just my idea. I like, as I'm saying it, I'm trying to put it all like piece to piece. So,
but there's probably like 5 pieces we're all forgetting, and we're just like, who knows?
Yeah, I'm not 100% following everything, much like the show's mythology, but my impression with the wand, I was more under the impression that the wellspring was more the source of magic than the wand, but I agree it's pretty uncertain in the special. So I think there's an argument. I don't want to spend too long on this. I mean, this is the type of thing that I'm more interested in discussing, but I feel like other people would want to hear more plot points. I think there's an argument to be made that this special, from a narrative perspective, was kind of just actively bad, given that a ton of things happen and nothing is explained. This is almost the worst offense of a Deus Ex Machina type thing happening that I've ever seen, this Toffee episode. It's just kind of a solid 15 minutes of stuff happening that really doesn't have any explanation. So I found that to be particularly notable, given that we're kind of at a crossroads with plot on the show. We'd started to be ramping up plot stuff recently. It originally was very much a character focused show, and now we kind of have the biggest plot episode that we've seen. And, if this is all the explanation we're getting, then it's definitely, for personally, what I would not like to see most from the show. I was already under the impression that the character moments were much better than the plot moments in Star. And I don't really think that Battle for Mewni has dissuaded that viewpoint at all. I know we've talked about this before, Alex. So, what's your take on me saying that?
Well, I do admit that there are a lot of holes in that would still need to be filled here. But at the same time, I don't think all of this came entirely out of nowhere. For example, we've had the dipping down concept mentioned to us before. We've seen the butterfly form exhibited by Moon in the past. So I feel like there are a lot of things that still need to be explained, but when I was watching it, at least, I bought into it. I didn't think that it came out of nowhere. Like, there were concepts that I had seen before in the show, so it didn't feel like a Deus Ex Machina or something like, say, comparing this to Steven Universe with Lars Head. You have the crying, bringing someone back from the dead. We knew that you could cure, but we didn't know it was that extent. So I'm not personally. I feel like that's almost worse than what we saw here, but that's up to you guys.
I see no evidence that the show has any desire to explain plot elements that happen. I've almost seen nothing. And I'm not sure the show ever stops and tries to explain something. Even the supplemental book really makes no effort to kind of explain how things work, which is definitely a red flag. And I agree that it's interesting. Something like Star turning into her butterfly form. There's precedent. We saw the Mewni episode, and then we saw her mom do that in the finale. But we still don't understand what that is, or why it's happening.
Yeah. Why does it happen to them? They're the butterfly family. Is that literally the explanation? And that's it? The butterfly family turns into butterflies. Cool. End of discussion. Where? Yeah. But that's it.
Yeah, I think the show it's more interested in being a magical girl type show. That really doesn't make an attempt to explain things than a show with a cohesive plot. And that's, quote unquote fine. It can clearly do that if it wants. But I do think it's made other attempts to have more of a cohesive plot at times. And I think if it tries to be too ambitious with its plot now, it will fail if it doesn't start explaining things.
Yeah. Sometimes it just feels like Darren's really just making it up as she goes.
Which is definitely true, and I don't think that's a problem either.
I don't think it's a problem, but it's one of those things where I don't know. It's I almost feel like at some point you almost have to sort of stop or start incorporating explanations of things, because otherwise you're just going to fail. You know what I mean? People are just going to riot in the streets, and or at least we'll all riot in the streets because we need explanations. You can only go so far without explaining things. And so eventually she's going to hit that wall where she's going to have to start. So I'm just curious, have we hit that wall? Are we going to start getting explanations for things, or are we not?
Yeah, and it's possible we spend the rest of the season explaining what happened. It totally could. That's possible. I think it's almost certainly not what will happen, but they could go that route. I think that it's really not that hard to start working in exposition to your dialogue, and the show really never does that. I think it's something. I actually think this is maybe the biggest thing that separates the show and Steven Universe on this level, is that Steven Universe actively at times will work in exposition into its dialogue. I think that's when the show is at its best. And even Steven Universe's show with a super broad mythology, it is way more concrete than Star right now. And like I would, and Steven, there's so many shows that have more concrete mythologies than Steven Universe, but Star explains so far less. So I personally, I think the show would be much better served to start explaining some things. That being said, I think the show's strength is still its characterization, so it can still be an actively good show, even if it stops doing things, because it's just going to be entertaining to see Star and Marco interact, which is the core of the show already.
And just one thing I want to point out with characterization, I think one fault that you can put with the show is its usage of Glossaric, because like I found him very funny at times compared to some other people on this podcast. But he could be used so much more as like actually explaining things like how magic works, how the spells work. But they choose to portray him as such a cryptic person that you can't really trust absolutely anything he says or take anything he says seriously. So that hampers them a lot with the exposition, because otherwise, who is going to explain to Star these things?
Right. I mean, if you look at the characters they've introduced, Glossaric is the mentor archetype, and he is the least likely character to explain things.
His name is literally Glossaric, and he explains nothing. Yeah. Like he is the most oxymoron character I've ever encountered, because I was like, cool, Glossaric, we're gonna get some answers. Nope. Yeah, nothing. Yeah.
You're right. So he's entertaining to watch, but from a narrative perspective, he really pulls it down.
Yeah, he's the type on a typical show, he'd be the type of character to give us some explanation. And then there's Moon, who would be another candidate, but she's cold and doesn't talk to Star that much, although it might be changing now, so you can't get explanations from her. It's like, who would even give you an explanation of anything? And it's not like the show is like, it's not like that's unfortunate. Like, they put themselves in the spot on purpose. So we could just introduce a character to explain stuff. Like maybe Hekapoo starts being friends with Star if she's revived now and starts explaining stuff to her. Like, you can just do this with anything. So
I'm glad you mentioned Hekapoo, Dylan, because I think that's when they're best at explaining stuff. It's when they introduce a new character. Like when they during Running with Scissors, that was actually one of the better examples of explaining how the world works, where the scissors come from. But I think they're really having trouble with going back to old characters and old moments and old episodes and explaining why that ever happened. But when they come up with a new idea, they can explain why that works in the world they already have. I think they're having trouble retconning, essentially.
Yeah, I think when we had, and we discussed this a little bit on the 2 Hour podcast, which is that I think basically our current crew is uninterested in rehashing season 1 at all, because it was basically half of the crew was not working on season 1 anyway. So I think it's a good point, Andy. I think that there were 3 episodes in the end of season 2 which were introducing us to the High Commission members, and those were some of the better examples of the show doing exposition, because it kind of forced them to, because the whole point of the episode was to introduce us to new characters and explain, or characters that we'd previously seen for a second, and kind of explain who they are. So that was the whole archetype of the episode. So we actually had to get some of this stuff in there. So in Running with Scissors, whatever the Romulus episode was called, and I don't think the other one was that
the math
one was that explanation heavy, but at least it was thematically kind of introduced us to this stuff. Anyway, so yeah, it's the show's Running with Scissors. I agree. Great job of talking about a whole episode about what's up with dimensional scissors. Great. Now we completely concretely know what's up with scissors. That's right. The only example of this type of thing though in the show. So you could see we had an episode about Star's wand, but it really did not answer anything to do with what Star's wand.
It gave you nothing.
Yeah. Again, that, by the way, this isn't a general criticism of the show. That Star's wand episode is wonderful. They can still be good and fun. We're just talking about a very specific the narrative aspect of the show, and how that might come into play in the future. But again, not the biggest component of the show. So let's get on to other aspects of Battle for Mewni. And we're going to talk about other narrative aspects of what happened, but that's just because so much happened. So let's get to speculating on some other stuff. We mentioned this before in that Star's butterfly form. I believe we were calling this Muberty form on the previous podcast, and maybe butterfly form is better, although I don't think we have a name for it. So it's whatever. Star goes Sailor Moon, and
yes,
pretty much.
Yeah. and it's wonderful, and it was visually stunning, and it was a really great moment in the show. But what exactly happened? Andy, explain.
First off, I've been calling this form Shining Star.
Shining Star,
because
yeah. Okay.
Because of the ending, like that seems to fit in my head for some reason. But what happened here was Star pulled a Deus Ex Genora and just appeared in a shining light, and just was like, "I have magic now." That's all there was. Was there anything else that happened? Like, she dipped her hands into a pot of boiling stew that had a baby unicorn in.
Yep.
And then she was a butterfly.
Yep. This is just, I was like, really the one thing we're gonna take from Korra is the Genora Deus Ex moments from the book 2 finale. Like, that's the thing we're gonna, anyway. Yeah. So clearly it's supposed to be a crucial moment. She's in some realm with Glossaric. She dips down, there's the horse, and then she's butterfly mode. So there's clearly, like, we're supposed to take something away from this. Do you have a particular read on what happened here, Alex? In particular, do you have an answer to the question of, I think we talked about this on the podcast, was Star dead? Was that what was happening?
My personal theory is that, like, there's some kind of like anti-magic dimension that they went to, or like inside the wand is a like sort of a dimension, a source where the magic comes from, and Toffee in his whole plan was able to enter this dimension and corrupt the source of where all the magic comes from. So I feel like it just they got trapped in that dimension without a way of getting out. Now, the issue, obviously, is with Glossaric, considering that we know him as this powerful being who knows his way around all this stuff. Why does he stay there?
Briefly to make a reference that no one else is going to understand except Andy. In Magic the Gathering, there are these creatures called the Eldrazi that are they come from the Blind Eternities, which is the space between dimensions. So when Alex said that kind of reminded me of and there's dimensions in Star, so I was like, oh, is this like between dimensions? Is that where they are? That's
also possible. It's like a kind of limbo.
Yeah.
So does limbo exist inside of Ludo then? Like Ludo is the limbo between magical dimensions or something, like, because
the wand, because Ludo was being used as a vessel in lieu of a wand existing.
Oh, I guess.
Yeah.
But no, that doesn't make sense though, because here's why, because Ludo found the other half of the wand. And it was not attached to him at all until the end of season 2. So then that, like, if like the entirety of season 2, Ludo had the other half of the wand, like, attached to his hand, like it had been, then I would agree. I could buy into that, but he didn't. He had it on a stick. So
and Toffee, as we know, Ludo was speaking to the wand where Toffee was trapped, and it doesn't seem that Ludo was able to be possessed by Toffee until the wand became part of his body.
Yes,
I'm sure we were not literally inside Ludo.
No.
Yeah.
Are you sure though, Dylan?
No, I'm not sure, but I think it was more symbolic. We're in like a symbolic place. I think that Star was symbolically dead here. Like, I think that's what we were doing. I think we were totally the end of Harry Pottering this.
I was gonna say, I remember you saying the
King's Cross,
King's Cross, yeah. Like, were we having one of those moments?
That was the first thing I thought of during it, yeah.
I was like, Darren's tip of her hat to Harry Potter, like, here you go, JK, like.
There was even a fetus. In this one.
Right? Even a fetus. Look at that.
The weird thing is that this is like not at the end of the show, so that's not the typical move, is to put it here within the narrative. So, like, the hero dying and resurrecting moment is archetypally at the ends of the story.
So, Dylan, if Star did die, does that mean I was right in our previous prediction podcast about someone dying?
No. Because she's alive. So, yeah. I don't even know.
Depending on what happened to Toffee, you might be right.
Yeah, well, Toffee's dead, so.
So then that means... So if we're concluding that Star didn't die, then that means that Glossaric didn't die either. because they were in the same place, unless she was imagining it, but we don't know that. So
yeah.
And also Glossric in there, he says, "Are you saying I'm dead? I'm offended." So like either he is unaware where he is, or he knows that this isn't death, that this is some kind of other dimension or other place that normal people aren't allowed to go into.
Yeah, I mean, I think the problem, as always, with Glossric talking is that he might have been joking.
You can't trust him.
Right.
I'm just not caring.
Yeah, I don't think he's putting enough effort into what he was saying to speak the truth. Like that's like an interesting way of describing Glossric. Like it's not that he's necessarily lying, just don't think he gives at all a crap about what he's saying to Star. So like, how do you rely on him to be talking truthfully here?
He's the most powerful being.
Right.
He doesn't have to care.
I don't think Glossric is. I think he might be dead technically, but it doesn't matter. I think because he could just poof himself out of being dead. Like I think he could just go anywhere he wants.
He's like, I'm taking a vacation. Like
yeah, which I know makes no sense. But if he's God, then he can just stop being dead. I think if he wants to.
And Glosseric's entire deal in that scene is just so strange, because also Star, when he says, "You betrayed me," he says, "I'm sorry, it seemed that way." So you give off the idea that he might have planned this somehow. Yeah. Also, when Star sticks her hand, he says, "No, it's boiling." Like as if he didn't want it to happen, but maybe he was trying to like pull her into doing it. But see, this is the problem with Glossric. I can't.
Yeah, this is why I'm very frustrated with Glossric. Like he said, and I'm sorry, it seemed that way. Which on the surface, if any other character said that, they would indicate that they had a plan all along. But I think Glossric just doesn't care. So that's more of like when you apologize to someone who is not like empathetic, they're like, "Oh, I'm sorry that like you were that like I'm sorry you thought that I'm sorry you interpreted it that way." I feel like that's what Glossric was doing, right? Like
I thought the same way, Dylan. I thought it was more of a
Glossric just doesn't care at all. So he's just saying it like that, like whatever, like you're a puny human. What does it matter? So
go ahead.
I read a really interesting theory about Glossric, and it mostly focused on that line where he says like, "I'm sorry you thought it seemed that way," or something like that, and how like he knew all of this was going to happen, and this is just all of him like pushing Star to like be the best that she can be, because she doesn't like to learn in the traditional sense. It was really well thought out. Like you can find it on the subreddit. And I don't remember all of the details, but it was crazy. Like, and there was a small part of me that was just like, yeah, maybe, but I hate Glossric. So,
and the problem is we haven't really seen him put effort into anything. So, like, are we sure that he even like is interested enough to keep going through that plan for all this time?
In theory, Glosseric's purpose and motivation should be to train Star and make her reach her full potential. That's kind of what we're presented. With the role of Glosseric, he's like Star's magic tutor. So I think it definitely makes sense on that level. This is his plan all along, to make Star maybe be in control of the butterfly form or something. We see no evidence of that in how he acts, for sure.
Yeah.
I think Glossric has a plan. I think it's more like he's like an omnipotent being, so he can be lazy and still just enact this plan. I think that's part of what's going on, that he's just so powerful that he can just do this without even caring. Because I talked about it in the Facebook group, I really think that scene in Moon the Undaunted when he's crying about Moon's mother dying, I really think that's Glossric trying to manipulate Moon, because as soon as he turns the pages, it turns straight to coincidentally Eclipsa's pages. I really think that Glosseric's been planning something through the whole show, but I really don't know what it is, just like everything else.
Maybe he's trying to free himself. Maybe he's going to end up being our big bad at the end of the series. Like,
I don't think he's the big bad. I don't buy it.
Multiple points here. Yeah. That's Andy referring to our patron specific Facebook group, patreon.com/overlyanimated. So
become a patron and you can join us.
So there's like 3 points here that I want to address. One, this concept that Glosseric is like tethered to the book and not free. I've never bought this. I don't understand why the most powerful being in the universe would be tethered to the book. I feel like he just lives there.
He just hangs out.
It's his trailer home.
I don't like what's cursing him to that. What could be powerful enough to do that? I've seen no necessarily, and like it's always been implied that he's kind of bound to the book. but the show's never explicitly stated it, which makes me think that it's a misdirection.
It could be, but I think it could just be like a genie type thing. Like it just could be a trope.
That's clearly like the formation of his character is just as a trope like that. But they've never like doubled down on that.
I agree.
Yeah,
they probably never will.
The second concept. You go ahead, Alex.
Well, also something related in Book Begone, we noticed that Glossaric is telling Ludo you can't write it, only the owner can. And it seems that the book acts on its own in preventing itself from being written by Ludo. But I guess what I wonder is the book sentient on its own? Like, is it a different being? Or is Glossaric like in total control of that book?
Yeah, which is why that joke was pretty good in that episode, because the episode kind of leads you to believe that it is going to like talk or something, and so then it's like playing a trick on Ludo. So God, that scene is I thought that was effective, yeah, because I was buying it. I was not. This concept of Glossaric being a potential big bad. We can have this down the line. I'm selling for now, I think, but yeah, we can revisit that. Andy, your theory, was that, in the scene in, the second episode, Moon the Undaunted, that, Glossaric is kind of, crying over Moon's mom dying, and then, he flips the pages and Moon sees the Eclipsa section, and and Moon has access to the Eclipsa magic then. And you were saying that you thought Glossaric was manipulating Moon to find the Eclipsa section.
Yes,
yeah,
that is my theory.
Yeah, and my read on that scene when I watched it, I did think that was notable, like it was notably structured, but I thought that it was just, like, it's like, wow, she just conveniently happens upon the Eclipsa section. That was weird. But my thought was just that, they're showing Glossaric being sad and he flips the pages. It's just a vehicle to move the plot along, in order to, get Moon to find the Eclipsa section in order to get her to cast the spell. That episode is extremely fast paced. So, there are a few moments like that just need to move along.
I can buy that, but if you listen to him actually talking, like the way the lines were read, it could just be a weird line read, but the way the lines are read really come off to me as if because I thought he was tricking Moon even before he turned the pages. Just his tone felt very forced or very fake to me.
Alex, what do you think of Andy's tricking Moon theory?
I think that Glossaric meant for her to find it somehow, and it reminds me of a page turner back a couple of episodes ago, when we see that also when Star finds it, Glossaric is only like kind of pushing her away, but not really. So I wonder if it's almost like a test sort of thing, because another big theme of this entire thing was that Star was able to defeat Toffee using like the light magic, whereas Moon had to resort to the dark magic in order to defeat Toffee, and only barely. So I wonder if it's almost like Glossaric trying to see if what they do when they're confronted with that option.
April, buying or selling Andy's theory?
I might be buying it a little bit, simply because like it almost like mirrors the situation with Star too well, because like, you know, like I feel like it's very much like that test. Like, okay, like you've reached this point in your training, so let's see how you respond to black magic or dark magic or whatever. But maybe the timing of it wasn't like appropriate given with Moon, but like it still like very much proved that like she bought into it. She was like, she could have just like turned the page or tried to find something else or anything else, but she bought into it like immediately and went straight to Eclipsa, whereas like Star read it and was like, okay, well, bye. Like, I'm like, I mean, it was interesting, but that's not what I'm about, kind of thing. So it almost feels like he might have planned it just a little bit and manipulated her. I wouldn't say he like manipulated her to the point where he expected her to use it, but more so just to like to see her reaction to it, given her circumstance.
Andy, what do you think of Alex and April saying this is like a test by Glossaric?
I could see it. It reminds me a little bit of the the ending of season 1 of Korra, like the whole when you're at your lowest point, you're open to the biggest change. Like it could just be Glossaric trying to push them to their limits and trying to see if he can break them. But again, he hasn't really taught either of them anything. Like I'm not really sure I buy that he's even trying to do any of this stuff for them.
Well, at the same time, Glossaric, with going back to the whole dipping down thing, he's the one who introduced that concept in the first place, and he's been using metaphorical language in an attempt to get Star to get it, since she doesn't take word for word instruction that correctly. So he does seem to teach, but in very roundabout ways, like what we would say elaborate ways. So at least to me, like this kind of fits his personality of never actually saying what he wants you to do, but just kind of like meandering around till you eventually do the thing he wants you to do.
Yeah, there's evidence that Glossaric has actually had interest in teaching Star before. I agree. I grade this myth plausible. That's what I grade. So
it's a theory, not a myth.
I grade this myth plausible. So, but I caution us to be careful with Glossaric. I would not read into too much what he's doing. That's my general.
Yeah, we're throwing darts.
Yeah, right.
I take Glossaric with a grain of salt, like
like a ton of salt.
Yeah, a ton.
Yeah,
no pudding.
No
that
salt
scene was
pudding.
so frustrating.
That fire pudding scene was so disgusting.
That's the
not even that. I was just like, why would you continue to try? Like, you know better.
That's the MO with Glossaric, I think. Disgusting. So we're kind of on the subject, the Young Moon and the Moon flashback episode. I don't know what you guys thought of Young Moon. I kind of espoused this opinion on the recap podcast that Young Moon takes a pretty unsympathetic action at the end. I think kind of in terms of it having a negative impact on Mewni. I think she's in extraordinarily difficult circumstances, but I do think she probably takes a morally bad action here. What was your overall impression of Young Moon in the flashback episode, Andy?
I felt really hard for her. I felt like she was just, again, mentioning the Korra season 1 finale, I really felt that she was in a similar place. She just had no idea what to do, and she was just pushed to the point where she just had no one to turn to except for Eclipsa, because she didn't feel that she could talk to anyone else. Like River she could talk to, but River was no help here. Let's be honest, young River was no help. Even adult River is no help. But except when eagles are involved. But I really felt for her. I didn't actually hold it against her that she went to Eclipsa. I just felt that this was just a sad thing that happened because of more tragedy, essentially.
Yeah, not that she goes to Eclipse. I think it's more of the scattering of the monsters at the very end of the episode that I'd find sympathetic. Yeah, and
I guess I see that more.
Yeah.
I see that more. I guess I see.
Yeah, and of course, it's you feel for it and it's understandable. What was your impression, April, of Young Moon in the flashback?
Well, I loved her, one. Yeah. But you already know, Dylan, that I love Moon. She's my favorite, but not above Star, but But I really enjoyed her, and I think that like it helped give us a really good insight to her character. And I felt for her hardcore because we're assuming Star's age at this time. Like her mother was literally just killed by monsters, and then everyone's like trying to do like throwing a million things at her at once. Like she seems like she didn't even get like the proper time to grieve, so she could approach everything with a straight head. And so like, I don't necessarily blame her for her actions. And even though like at the end, it was a very harsh decision to be like, that's it, no more monsters kind of thing. Like I see where it came from. And so in my head, it makes sense. And it like brings us to today in a sense. So, but I loved her. She was adorable. And I loved that I got to see the Moon and River sort of interaction. Very, very heartwarming for me.
Yeah. Side note: today we just got the voice actress for Young Moon, Katie Driver. Amelia Lorenz posted this on Tumblr. So not Grey Delisle, as versatile as Grey Delisle is, not Grey Delisle as Young Moon. Yeah.
And her first ever acting credit, it appears. So excellent.
Very impressive. Yeah, I thought she was great. Yeah.
Agreed.
Alex, what's your take on Young Moon?
I'm with them both because, like, when you're in grief, you go to extremes sometimes, and obviously some of us handle grief very differently. Some of us, like the count there, you go very over emotional, but Moon keeps all her emotions within herself, and that's also how we've seen her as an adult too. She keeps many of her deeper thoughts hidden until she's pushed, as Star often does with her. So just seeing how grief, along with a prejudice that's been probably inculcated into her from youth, and as we see reflected in Puddle Defender, if you grow up with the idea that monsters are evil, and you see that one monster did this heinous act against you, and you have the power to exact revenge, in that delicate situation, it's a very tempting thing to do, and it seems that Moon fell right in line, especially when she received support from half of the group, like, say, Mina Loveberry or Romulus, the people who are warmongers. Probably in the end, they support this decision. So it's not like she's going entirely against the grain here. So I think in hindsight, it's an immoral thing to do, but in the moment, you can understand where she's coming from. And you can also understand why it's gotten to this point, because it was a delicate moment in her life.
Yeah. I think this is one of the best things the show has done. I think just that's what makes this episode great. I think this evaluates to a top 5 episode of Star overall. And I think this ending is so brilliant because, like all of you guys are talking about, you all want to side with Moon on this. It's understandable. Like, we see her motivations. We've seen this built up throughout the entire series. And yet I think this action is so completely responsible for the state of monsters in Mewni in the present. I think that she's directly culpable. And it's not obvious. Like, when you're watching it, it's like, oh, I feel for Moon, like, in the spot. But it's just such a heinous kind of thing to do, and yet you completely understand what she's doing, and it's an example of how good the show is with characterization. Like, we're talking about how bad, if we don't follow up narratively, this could be not great. On the other hand, the show shines with characterization, and what we did with Young Moon in the flashback, I think, was really brilliant, and I love the way they end this episode with her taking that action.
I do. I was gonna say, I also really like. It's almost like you see like the switch in Moon from the beginning of the episode to the end of the episode. Like, you very much see like the contrast between like who she was before that interaction and then afterwards, and not that it was necessarily directly influenced by Eclipsa, but like after like her standoff with Toffee, like. You see like that switch, and then you see her like transform into the queen. Like, she went from being Princess Moon to Queen Moon, like, in that instant. She was just like, she's like, I know now this is what needs to be done. Like, even though like it may not have been the best course of action, and again, it's what led us to where we are today, but like just that like instant transformation, it was very, very satisfying for me. So
yeah. I think it's so great. More. I think this warrants another Moon roundtable, maybe another one soon.
Yes, I'm ready. Dylan.
Yeah, bring April back. We'll do the follow up. Maybe that's in our future. We have a little bit of long. We have a solid 5 months. Yeah,
we have till Starvember.
Starvember. Okay. Lightning round. To close things out. Be ready. Okay. First, when's the next time we're going to see Ludo? April.
Maybe like if we see him, not until like we're deeper into the season.
Not for a little bit.
But it'll have to. I don't know. I want it to be like it'll be significant, but I think another Ludo in the Wild would be highly inappropriate. So.
Yeah. Alex, fate of Ludo.
Mid-November, Ludo in the Wild 2. Woo!
Okay.
No, well, wait, we see him throw and he's like, I need to find myself. Yeah. So, like, it does seem like that's preparing us for another introspective, because at the end we see Ludo all broken again, like feeling that this entire season for him has been almost wasted in his eyes. But at the same time, he has learned some things, so he may want want to try to figure out like what of those things are things that he can still do, or where can he find guidance. So just like if that's the breather episode they want to go with, that I would be perfectly fine with it. I like it.
Andy, Ludo in the Wild 2.
I'm guessing the 4th episode of
Do you think it's happening, Ludo? You're personally greenlighting Ludo in the Wild 2?
Yes, I am. I think we're gonna have 4 episodes to introduce us to Mewni, specifically 4 episodes to introduce us to Mewni with like Tom and Jana and Kelly, and then we're gonna go straight into Ludo in the Wild too.
Okay.
Ludo straight into Ludo in the Wild.
Okay, yeah, that's a good question. I wasn't gonna say it. The rest of season 3, the majority takes place on Mewni. Yes or no, April?
I hope yes.
Alex.
Yes, they need to do some rebuilding.
Okay, and Andy said yes. Okay.
Yes.
Eclipsa, the next episode that we see in November, Eclipsa is broken free. Yes or no, April?
If she is, it's going to be like at the end of the episode, or it'll be like one of those things they'll go visit like her crystal, and they'll see that it's even more cracked.
That's not a. I need a yes or no.
Oh, no.
Okay, no. Okay, Alex.
No, too soon. They got to put it somewhere in the mid. Like, if you want to stretch it out the entire season, I think you begin introducing her in the present somewhere further in, like in the middle.
Andy.
Maybe like the 2nd or 3rd episode.
I think the next time we see her, she'll be out.
That's not a yes. That's not a yes or no.
Wait, next time we see her, or next episode?
You don't get yes or
next
no's.
episode. Next episode, Eclipsa out of the...
No.
Oh, you mean like the first episode of November?
Yes.
You're asking... Oh, no.
You guys are wrong. You guys are wrong. I'll go yes. This is a potential...
Dylan, I can't wait to throw it in your face.
No, I'm going to be right. Don't worry. This is a whole nother podcast, but Dark Star arc is still online for the rest of season 3. Yes or no, April?
Yes.
Alex.
On hold.
Yeah, I don't like that answer.
Yes or no?
Leaning towards no,
Okay.
if only because they put so heavily on light magic versus dark magic and light magic winning. I don't know if we're going to go back into that.
Andy.
100% no. She's a shining star. The song says
Right.
it.
Yeah, it's hard to reconcile Sailor Moon Star with Dark Star. We might be saving that for season 4. I agree. What do I want to end with? Starco Kiss, rest of season 3, yes or no? April.
Ooh, yes.
Alex.
Nope, series finale.
Oh my god. Andy.
Series finale. Oh
Andy.
gosh.
Not this season.
Oh my god. Oh my god. No.
We're gonna get a lot of hugs though.
Dylan, yes.
Yes.
Me and you, yes.
It's happening immediately. In the fanfic.
I never said I didn't
watching.
want it. I'm just saying I don't think it'll happen.
It's happening right
No.
now.
If they didn't kiss after 2 weeks apart, they ain't kissing
They
now.
haven't addressed their feelings yet. Jeez, it needs to.
Yeah, there was
they need
no
to have
time
a talk.
for that.
They need to have a talk. Next episode is Starco relationship feelings talk. That's the title, and then they're gonna.
Yeah.
Okay.
They can have Tom's counselor oversee
Yes,
it.
exactly. That's a good idea.
I can't wait for 22 minutes of awkwardness.
Oh yeah, it's gonna
I'm
be
ready.
glorious. it's happening.
Let's get awkward.
Yeah, I agree. Gonna be a little weird. Yeah, let's do it. Okay. As promised, time for the episode ranking. Who is prepared? Who has it? Okay, Andy, go.
Nope.
Moon the Undaunted, Toffee, Return to Mewni, Puddle Defender, Marco and the King, King Ludo, Book Be Gone.
Was that my exact order? I don't remember.
I don't
Okay.
know.
Alex, what's your
That's
order?
what I got.
Come back to me.
April, go.
Oh no.
What?
Boone the Undaunted is number 1.
Okay.
Hold on. Yeah, I would give Toffee number 2. Return to Mewni number 3, and then the others. Puddle Defender, and then the other 2 jumbled underneath that.
Rank them.
No.
When Dylan says rank it,
You
do
rank
like
it. You have to rank it.
Marco and the King, and then Book Be Gone. Done.
Well, where's King
Yeah,
Ludo?
we're missing one.
Oh, dang it. King Ludo. Crap. Sorry. Above Book Be Gone.
Okay. Alex, go.
That's what I.
Okay, Moon the Undaunted number 1, Toffee number 2, Return to Mewni number 3, Book Be Gone number 4, Puddle Defender number 5, King Ludo number 6, Marco and the King number 7.
Okay. A lot of homogenous ranking here. I'm surprised.
Well, I think after Moon the Undaunted, Toffee, Return to Mewni, that's like the top tier,
solid,
and then the bottom 4 you can switch however you want.
No, I think 1A is Puddle Defender here, and tier 1A. But yeah, it's we've all agreed on this 1 to 4 ranking, I think, at least. I'm debating Moon the Undaunted. I think it knocks off Baby for the 5 slot on my overall list. I don't remember what I had it for. But it's up there. Like, I think that episode's really good. So, episode rankings revisited coming soon. Probably.
I'll be more prepared.
Yeah, more prepared. Andy gets an A because he had his rankings ready, and then you two get an F. So that's the grades for this podcast.
For fantastic.
Fantastic.
No, that's a very star outlook on getting an F. I don't know if it's so I guess it's appropriate.
Yeah, that happened in season 1,
Did it really?
right?
But is this not a Star versus the Forces of Evil podcast? I'm taking my F for fantastic.
Okay. We'll have to be like my high school and not give Fs and just give whatever D's. So they're E's. You know, it was an E. Yeah, there you go.
No, we'll give G's for glossary.
G's yeah, you're the worst. You get a G. that's it. You get a glossary grade. Okay. Let us know what you thought about any of the topics we discussed. I think this warrants a number 3 Battle for Mewni podcast. There's still we only can get to half my outline, so I think we need to have a number 3, and then a bunch more Star stuff to come, including potentially all these Star topics we've hypothesized. Although we're pretty busy coming up, so I don't know if we can keep weekly with Star. I think that's probably not gonna happen, but still more Star to come. Overlyanimated.com. Check us out anywhere else and subscribe to us wherever that is and leave comments. And consider supporting us on Patreon at patreon.com/overlyanimated. Thank you very much to all of our patrons, especially our patron of the podcast, Rachel, aka Rachel Rose. And thanks as always to our patron executive producers, John, Ryan, Steve, Alex, and Andy. That's you two. And we are going to be back with a bunch of other stuff, including Rick and Morty. Rick and Morty season is coming. If you watch Star and you're not a child, you would like Rick and Morty. So you should. It's the adult Star, and we're gonna have a lot of Rick and Morty podcasts coming up. So check us out for that. Final thoughts, guys.
I'm ready for Starvember.
I want to give a shout out. We already gave one to Katie Driver, but also young River was voiced by Sonny Ashbourne Circus, son of Andy Serkis. So River is the son of Snoke.
And I think Caesar is the more current reference. Yeah, but yes, Andy.
Come on, Star Wars is never not current.
That's true. But I just want to say I want more magical girl transformations. That's all I want. That's all.
Yeah, but you don't want to wish to that because then it becomes Ladybug, and we have the same animation sequence every episode. So,
well, no, I just want more characters to do it. I want like
you think you like that Star sequence, but what if we played it literally every single episode? Would you like it then? So that's
maybe twice an episode.
Yeah, sometimes twice. Yeah.
Depends. You get bored of the intro and outro.
That's true. It's different though.
But Dylan, don't you want Marco to like have a magical girl transformation with his cape?
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Let's see that.
I'm looking forward to the explanation of Marco's cape. Bring it.
Rest of season 3. That's our big topic. Marco's cape, the name of next episode. You heard it here first. That's what's happening. And then followed by Star and Marco talking about their feelings for 22 minutes. And then Starco Kiss. Those are the next 3 episodes. So look forward to that.
And Glosser Keith.
Oh no. That, you don't need to. We don't need a fanfic about that. It happens all the time. So check us out overlyanimated.com. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.